Hi, this is Kaery with Kaery Concealed in the Active Self-Protection Extra channel. And today we're going to talk about pepper spray or OC spray and whether or not you know your deployment times and your accuracy standards or accuracy level for deploying OC. So come on back and we'll talk about that.
MagTech is the only Freedom seed I use on the range. I personally have over 100,000 rounds downrange of MagTech, and it's unbelievably reliable, very accurate, and a great value. Pick some up for your next range trip wherever you shop for range supplies.
Welcome back. Recently, I returned home from teaching at two different national conferences. One was in Kansas, and that was the Active Self-Protection National Conference, and the other one was in Kansas City, and that was the Guardian Conference. And Miss Natalie Widener, or the Range Monkey, was at both of those, and she and I got to teach together for a significant amount of time, actually all the sessions we taught at the Guardian Conference. And at one of the conferences we taught, I won't say which one, but at one of them, we thought that it would be interesting to see if our students knew their draw to first shot time, or draw to first hit. I like to call it draw to first hit. So it's not just a shot, but it's a hit in an anatomically relevant area. So we would ask students as they arrived, do you know your draw to first hit time? And they would, and some people did. I would say about half of them knew their draw to first hit time. And most of the times averaged between, I would say, 1.5 and 2.5 seconds, somewhere in there. But when we asked them if they knew their OC deployment time, some of them even said, OC? What's OC? And then we said, well, pepper spray. And sometimes there was a little confusion. We'd say, well, POM, P-O-M, peace of mind. Do you know your POM deployment time? Oh, and then some would recognize that. But we didn't have anyone who said that they knew how long it took them to get their OC out of their pocket and deploy it. And when we asked how many of them had ever practiced doing that, several folks said that they had practiced taking it out of their pocket, but not actually deploying it because it was actual spray that was in there, the actual irritant, chemical irritant that was in the canister. They didn't have any inert canisters. And so what we did is we actually gathered data from a couple of classes, and I thought I'd share that with you just to give you an idea of what most folks OC deployment time was. So we started, just so you know, reach down and grab this. We started with inert trainers. You can order these from POM. They have them right on their website. And I want to say they're around $6 or $7 each. And you just pull off the bottom of your existing POM and then slide the bottom onto your inert trainer. Now, I like to leave the inert trainers all now have the blue caps, which is nice. There was a period of time where they had white caps, and then POM went to some white units, and but now these are all blue, and they don't sell blue real units. So what I like to leave the band off of it so that I'm able to see the canister underneath and see the color of the canister, because the color of the canister for the inerts is blue, as you can see, and it even says practice inert unit on it. And the regular OC canisters are white. And so by leaving off the ring, the ring right here, because this little ring you can pull off, the color ring, but by leaving that off just on the trainers, just when we use the trainers, I'm able to see right away, and my students are able to see right away that that's an inert trainer that we have in there. Even though we check it, we can just visually confirm that it is. And so anyway, so we handed out inert trainers, and we talked about how to set them up in your pocket and how to stage them. And we had just the ones with the clips on them this year. I've brought ones with keychains in the past, but well, I didn't bring those this year. So the average time for people just starting out, so when they were, we gave them 3 or 4 practice deployments, and then we went ahead and measured their time. And the way we did that is we had them partner up, and we had one student would hit the timer, they would say go and hit the timer, and that would be the person's signal to go. And then that same person would hit the stop. Now, we know we have human reaction time. From the time they would see them stopping, it was probably 1/4 to 1/3 of a second of a reaction time it took them to press the stop button. So we might consider factoring that in. And these aren't like scientific measurements, but it just gave us it's not a scientific study, but this just gave us some good ideas of what we're looking at. Why couldn't we use a regular shot timer to time like we do when we time our draw to first hit? Well, because the OC doesn't make a loud enough noise to shut the shot timer off. So we had a range of times of deploying of 3.9 seconds, so let's just say 4 seconds, to 1.6 seconds. And the person who had 1.6 seconds, I don't have permission to share her name, but it's my understanding that that was one of the first, maybe the first or second times that they had actually deployed OC and or the inert canister, and they were lightning fast at 1.6 seconds, which was pretty awesome. And then we had them do it again out of their pocket, and the range of that was 4.1 to 1.2 seconds. And then I was going to get you the average, and I forgot to compute the averages of these, but I'll have to do that in another video. And then we had them actually put their hand on their OC canister in their pocket. So the OC was in the pocket, but we had them have their hand on it. So all they had to do was just push it up with their finger into the palm of their hand. And that time range was about the same, 4.1 seconds to 0.9 seconds. And then what was interesting is, just like I like to have my students at least experience once or twice what their draw to first hit time is, if they're able to pre-stage their hand on the grip of their gun. So if they see something's brewing, they can't get out of there, or they got too many kids to pick up and run, whatever it is, they can just reach under and pre-stage their hand on their gun. And how much faster is their draw to first hit time when they pre-stage their hand? And I'm not saying I'm telling them to walk around doing that at all, but I just think it's important for them to realize how much faster they can be if they're able to do that in a critical incident, or as one is brewing, I would say. So we did that with the OC. So their hand was on their OC canister, their palm canister, and that range was 0.9 seconds down to 0.4 seconds. So that's pretty quick once they had their hand on the inert trainer. Now, in another video, I'll share with you some of our draw to first hit times from our secret sub-second draw classes that we taught this year. And what's interesting is it takes longer, a little bit longer, I would say, for most students to be able to deploy their OC. Mostly, I think it's because we don't do a walk down drill with that, and we don't get them doing it, enough times that they're able to bring their time down and get those reps in. But also, I think that usually our holster location, at least mine is, in the same place. No, because of the Enigma, no matter the rise of my pants, whether they're low rise or mid rise, I'm able to stage my Enigma where, and it's always in the same place. So my draw is always the same. The difference, though, is pockets on women's pants vary radically. Some of them have a slant pocket. Some of them have more of a curve to them. And that radically changes the angle at which you, and even the length of your hand moving down to actually deploy your OC. So this is something I'm still practicing with and experimenting with a little bit to kind of see what happens with this. I'll keep doing this over the next year or so. I'll keep measuring draw to first spray times, but the students really seem to enjoy it, and they enjoyed practicing. Many were surprised. Many had never, ever sprayed anything out of a canister before, out of the OC canister before. And many were surprised how long it took them to actually refine their aim, even though the palm has a special little ledge right here, a finger ledge, that's to where you can have your knuckle, so you know right where that, that's the front of it, and that's where the spray is going to be coming out, is right here. Coming out of the pocket when they're doing it quickly, oftentimes the spray would be, the canister might be off to the side a little bit. Even after 10, 12 repetitions, it would just, sometimes when it came out of pocket, it would be just a little bit tilted off to the side. And they quickly corrected, because they would start spraying, they'd realize it was off, and they would rotate their hand. Instead of rotating the canister, they'd quickly rotate their hand. So they were able to solve the problem very, very quickly. But just as it takes longer for people, Force Science has done a study about drawing from just a waistband, not a holster, but just a gun tucked in the front of your breeches or sweatpants. And that draw time is actually longer than having your gun in a holster. And that's because there's give and movement in those sweatpants. So I think that's some of what we're seeing with the OC, with the palm canister. Not palm's fault or anything. It's just by very nature of where we're carrying that, if we're carrying that in our pocket. And maybe that's one reason to consider, for those of us that conceal carry on the rig, maybe consider carrying that palm right on your Enigma belt. Mine has a place to do that, and I often do that in the summer, especially if I'm wearing shorts that don't have pockets. That usually works pretty well for me. But some way so there isn't so much give when you go down to stab and grab that palm canister out of your pocket. But pre-staging, if we can do that, is the key. So that's all I have for you today. Come on back next time. We're going to talk about some of the subtleties of teaching folks how to deploy palm OC spray. We'll do that next week.